Welcome ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to be talking to Lester B. Pearson, who played a very important role during the Suez Crisis as the Minister of External Affairs. Could you please explain to us what the Suez Crisis is?
Well, the Suez Crisis erupted in 1956 during the midst of the Cold War, when the Egyptian president Abdul Nasser nationalized the Suez Canal. This created a military and political confrontation in Egypt that threatened to break up the military alliance between the United States and Great Britain, which led to Canada having to step in.
So, what exactly is the Suez Canal?
The Suez Canal directly links the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. The canal was built by Egyptian workers under a British and French-owned company. The company was seized and nationalized. This furthered tension because the canal was a vital channel for the flow of oil. If Nasser blocked the flow of oil between the countries, he could cripple the British economy.
Then why did Egypt want to nationalize the canal?
Egypt wanted to nationalize the Suez Canal so that they could charge shipping tolls that would pay for the construction of a massive dam on the Nile River. This would restrict the Nile from flooding the nearby towns due to melting snow and heavy summer rain, and provide hydroelectricity and other means to industrialize the country.
How did Britain and France react to the canal being nationalized?
Well, when diplomacy failed to produce a solution, France, Britain, and Israel secretly plotted to attack without informing the US, Canada, and other NATO allies. When Nasser did not withdraw from the Suez Canal, Britain and France began bombing the canal zone.
So Mr. Pearson, what role did you play in the Suez Crisis?
During the Suez Crisis, Canada was known as the conciliator, a municipality which discusses the issue and finds solutions to the issue, while I was the Minister of External Affairs. My job was to propose numerous different ways to prevent a bigger conflict between Britain, France, Israel, and Egypt from breaking out.
What action did you take in order to prevent a war from breaking out?
Working with colleagues at the UN, I developed an idea for the UN's first large-scale peacekeeping force. At the time, the UN military observers were monitoring ceasefire agreements elsewhere, but a more powerful and armored peacekeeping force had not been tried before. First, my original idea was to convert the British and French forces at the canal into peacekeepers with a mandate from the UN, but this was turned down. Over the course of 4 days starting on November 1st, I put together a coalition. My second proposal was for the British and French to withdraw. This would then allow for the new United Nations emergency force to remain in the area. This proposal received an overwhelming amount of support from the UN.
What was the result of your proposal?
The result of my proposal for Britain and France to withdraw from the canal and have peacekeeping forces replace the occupying forces was successful, as the Canadian General E.L.M. Burns led the first international peacekeeping force called the United Nations Emergency Force into the Suez Canal, replacing the aggressive force that previously occupied the area.
So, what is the purpose of the United Nations Emergency Force?
In 1956, I established the United Nations Emergency Force in order to secure an end to the Suez Crisis. Each crisis is given its own name in order to distinguish it from others. The main purpose for the United Nations Emergency Force is to peacefully solve physical disputes between two groups of people.
So, I'm taking that your proposal was well received by others.
Well, actually, some people in Britain and even in Canada objected to the lack of support shown for Britain, and some even accused my colleagues and I of betraying Britain. I tried my best to defend my position and record by saying that I was trying to help Britain by trying to prevent them from starting another war.
How were your actions rewarded?
I was awarded the 1957 Nobel Peace Prize for my initiative in Egypt. I was said to have shown that moral force can be a bulwark against aggression, and that it is possible to make aggressive forces yield without resorting to power. Some even called me a hero.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pearson, for sitting down with us to chat about your amazing work on the Suez Crisis.